Morning, Kofi. It's nice to see you. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2. Maharaj Nimi meets the 9 Yogendras, text 31. Dharman Bhagavatam Bruta Yadina Srutaye Shamam. Let me share the screen. Can we turn on the share screen?
I was imagining we're sitting here in the Bhakti Center, these 9 effulgent beings walking naked, you know, and we go, whoa, okay, what do you guys say? Fortunately, we have clothes on.
Amrit Kashore Mataji, can you make me host? What? Can you make me host? Oh, you're host, I can make.
Ananda Bihari Prabhu?
Okay, now he made.
Now you're co-host.
Here.
He got kicked out for some reason. He's reconnecting, everybody.
Would anyone like to say something uplifting? Maybe you had a striking realization that you'd like to share. When those things happen, my mind just goes blank. I don't know. Please, somebody rescue us.
My takeaway from yesterday was that the Bhagavatam class that Krishna, well, we get challenges not to sing, but they're actually little gifts. I really appreciated that and shared it with me.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Yes, we don't just tolerate, we thank Krishna for those things. Sundarnath Prabhu, welcome back.
Sorry about that. I don't know why it just pulled me out. Can you post again? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Dharman Bhagavatan Bruta Yadina Srutaye Kshamam Yai Prasanna Prapannaya Dasyati Atmanam Api Aja. Translation. Please speak about how one engages in devotional service of the Supreme Lord if you consider me capable of properly hearing these topics. When a living entity offers loving service to the Supreme Lord, the Lord is immediately satisfied, and in return, he will give even his own self to the surrendered soul. So it has a long purport. We'll read 1 or 2 paragraphs and then discuss.
Okay.
Yeah. Offer prayer. Somagnanatimirandasya gnananjana chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse is King Nimi is asking this question to the Navayogendras in the conversation between Narada and Vasudev, where Vasudev asked a similar question. So Narada Muni is referring this dialogue between the King Nimi and the Navayogendras. The first question is being asked here. The translation says, please speak about how one engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. If you consider me capable of properly hearing these subjects, when a living entity offers loving service to the Supreme Lord, the Lord is immediately satisfied. In return, he will give his own self to the surrendered soul. So here it looks like King Nimi knows about the devotional service, not that he doesn't know. That's why he's telling that when Lord is satisfied in return, satisfied with loving service, he will give his own self to the surrendered soul. So he's asking here how one can engage in that devotional service. So let's dive into a little purport first and then come to discuss this. Within the material world, there are two classes of mundane philosophers who present their opinions about the Supreme Lord. Some so-called theologians claim that we are infinitely different from God, and therefore they tend to look upon the Lord as something far beyond our power to understand. Such extreme dualistic philosophers outwardly or officially claim to be pious and religious believers in God, but they consider God so much different from that which is within our experience that, according to them, there is little profit in even trying to discuss the personality or attributes of the Supreme Lord. Such outwardly faithful persons generally take to fruitive activities and gross materialistic sense gratification, being infatuated with the mundane relationships of the material world, which appear under the headings society, friendship, and love. So in this paragraph, the disciples of Prabhupada discuss about quite certain type of philosophers. One class, they are dualistics, they call. And the next para, the purport talks about the Advaita, non-dualistic philosophers. So the non-dualistic philosophers, they see that the Advaitavadis or non-dualistic philosophers claim that there is no difference between God and the living entity, and that the highest goal of life is to give up our personal existence, which is due to illusion, and merge into the impersonal Brahman effulgence, which is devoid of name, form, paraphernalia, and personality. Thus, neither class of speculative philosopher is able to understand the transcendental personality of Godhead. So this type of two philosophers, they are extremes. They take extreme opinion. One class is telling God and living entities are different. That God is far beyond Supreme Lord is, we can never be with God or achieve God. So let's just engage in this living happily in this material world. Let's do karma kanda. Let's do all the things. How to get some profit and how to get nice living. So they worship. They are the mundane worshippers. So they have different things that different gods are there. Different thing for different gods. They don't see that one supreme Lord is existing, and every one is part and parcel. And the other class of philosophers are Mayavadis, who see that God and living entities are one. It's just that now they are covered. So how these philosophers are coming to these conclusions is because of the statements in the Vedas. There are many statements in the Vedas which talk about these philosophies. On one extreme, Lord is duality, Dvaita, that is Lord and living entity different. On the other extreme, they are one. So even it is mentioned that in the different types of Vedas are there. Mainly they are Shruti and Smritis. So when there is a contradiction between the Shruti and Smriti, it is recommended that one should take Shruti. So based on all the different logics, these philosophers, they are all following these Vedas. They come to their conclusions, and they have many statements to justify their conclusions. So it is very natural to take either sides in this world. When there is any problem is there, anything, it's natural to take whether different sides. So there is climate problem. So there are both sides people take. Either you take this side or that side. That is, there's the problem in climate, there's no problem in climate change. So it is generally anytime any conflict happens or any problem is there, it's natural that tend to take either sides. But the reality is how to balance both. The art or the beauty is in every walk of our life, how to balance both, how to reconcile both arguments, how to see what is truth in both. Example, Jainitai Prabhu, he is gaining weight. No, he is not, but the statement says he is gaining weight. And then the another statement somewhere says he eats only once in the afternoon. Now, how to reconcile this both? So these philosophers, they keep these two statements aside and they think that, oh, the weighing scale is wrong. That's a deriving the statement. Or the statements, he has some, Jainitai Prabhu has some conditioning or something like that. So this is derived thing, where you take one side. But to reconcile both, that he's gaining weight and eating once, is the art. Losing weight. You can say either way. So that is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The purport says here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his sublime teaching of Achintya Veda Tattva, or simultaneous oneness and difference, has clearly demonstrated that we are qualitatively one with God, but quantitatively different. God is personal consciousness, and he has his personal form. Similarly, we are also personal consciousness, and ultimately when liberated, we also have eternal forms. The difference is that the eternal form and the personality of the Supreme Lord contain unlimited potency and opulence, whereas our potency and opulence are infinitesimal. We are conscious of our personal body, whereas Lord Krishna, the absolute truth, is conscious of everyone's body. As said in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetragnam chapi maam vidhi, sarva kshetresu bharata. But although God is infinitely greater than the living entity. Both God and the living entities are eternal personalities with form, activities, and feelings. So this is the sublime teaching of Mahaprabhu, where he is reconciling all philosophies into Achintya Veda Vedate. So devotees talk this word very often, Achintya, means inconceivable. For many things, devotees use this word Achintya. Because in one way, it is true. Many things we cannot comprehend with our conditionings. If we hold on to one thing and thank you. If you hold on to one opinion, then we are missing the truth, because our gray matter is so limited, our understanding is so limited, that we cannot really understand the truth, absolute truth. That is why we need to follow Guru, who is in a bona fide disciplic succession. So that is to reconcile the differences. It is so here it's mentioned how Chaitanya Prabhu mentioned how that Krishna and the living entities are same in quality, but different in quantity. So they are one and different same time. So we'll read further. This more and nicely it's explained in the further paragraph. So I want to read further about this Achintya Veda philosophy. The Supreme Lord Krishna expands himself into innumerable living entities to enjoy rasas or ecstatic relationships with them. The living entities are parts and parcel of Lord Krishna, and they are meant to serve him with love. Although the Supreme Lord is eternally the predominator and the living entity is eternally the predominated, when the living entity surrenders unto the Lord with a sincere loving attitude, desiring to serve the Lord eternally without the slightest expectation of personal reward for such service, the Lord immediately is pleased, and expressed here by the word Prasanna, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so unlimitedly merciful and magnanimous that in his gratitude to such a surrendered, loving servitor, he immediately inclined to offer anything, even himself, to his surrendered devotee. So here it's mentioned in purport how all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, but one who is surrendered. So what happens to that devotee? So that's also a chin that's inconceivable, but it is mentioned here how even in the verse it's mentioned about prasanna. That is the Lord who is pleased, and he is very merciful and magnanimous that in his gratitude to that surrendered soul, he is offering himself, he is surrendering himself. So we see how we just celebrated Kartik month. So how Lord Krishna allowed himself to tie by the love of Mother Yashoda. So it is the Supreme Lord. Now, if this is discussed by these two classes of philosophers, they would never understand this. The only way Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva can be understood in Rasa Tattva. Rasa Tattva means in the relationship. How Krishna and the living entities are one and different can be understood only in relationship, in the rasa. There is no, when we put the intelligence and reasoning and logic can never understand how this philosophy, how this Krishna conscious philosophy is, how it works. It is understood only when we relish the rasa, when we practice and be part of that rasa. So Supreme Lord is everything is infinite. How can he be tied? Then they have to derive another philosophy that okay, when he comes to this world, he's covered by Maya. He's like you and me. That's why you can tie him, you can do anything with him. And the others, philosophers, okay, when he comes here, he's still Supreme Lord, but it is just the devotees, they think like that he's getting tired and all like that. So different understandings, derivatives, these philosophers do, what our acharyas have given us, how this can be understood by rasa, that Krishna is giving himself to his surrendered devotee. He's giving himself to his surrendered devotee by their love. It is reciprocal. The devotees are also fully surrendered to him. Same Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna left to Mathura, he killed Kamsa, and Nanda Maharaj and all the cowherd boys stayed there. Then Krishna and Balram said to Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men that you please go back to Vrindavan, and then I will stay for a few days with Vasudeva and Devaki, and then see the affairs here in Mathura now that the king is not there, and I'll return to Vrindavan. And then hearing that, Nanda Maharaj's heart shattered, that Krishna is not going to come back with him to Vrindavan. At the same time, he surrendered. He wants to even please Krishna. So he returned to Vrindavan with heavily. It is mentioned how Nanda Maharaj, while coming back to Vrindavan, it is not very far. It is Mathura and Vrindavan. It is, if you walk, maybe it takes 1 or 2 days, 1 day maybe. So while coming, it's mentioned how he was trembling. He's not able to walk. He's sitting down at different place. He's sitting down and he's thinking what's happening. It looks like whole world is void. With Krishna, without Krishna is going, and he's thinking how Mother Yashoda will take it. And when he came to Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda understood Krishna is not come. Then he asked, why did you come alone? Instead of coming alone, you should have died there. He's telling Nanda Maharaj. How can you live in separation with Krishna? Nanda Maharaj replied that Yashoda, dying is easier. But if I die and you die in separation of Krishna, Krishna said he will come. When he comes here and looks for us, and we are not there, what suffering Krishna will undergo? So we have to live with this suffering. So all the gopis, all the god boys, they all lived in this suffering that Krishna will come. They lived almost 100 years in that suffering, in that separation, just for one promise that Krishna will come. They would have gone. Such one day walk to Mathura. Krishna stayed long time in Mathura. Of course, he moved to Dwarka later, but he stayed in, but they never went to Mathura to see him. Because that is their nature, surrendered soul. He surrendered to Krishna's will. Though it is painful, though it is, so far the Vrindavan Vasi, separation of Krishna is more painful than entering the fire. They could have easily entered fire, but that pain of separation of Krishna is more painful. But they tolerated that. They tolerated that. So that is the nature of the surrendered soul, where Krishna is ready to give himself. So that's why Krishna allowed himself to be bound by Mother Yashoda's love. We can also see how Narada Muni, we have in this chapter Narada Muni's conversation, where in Dwaraka, during this time only, when Narada Muni was staying in Dwarka, at that this is time when Vasudeva is asking his questions. So Narada Muni, maybe this time or sometime, but that he saw that in Dwarka, Krishna is having headache. And then Krishna asks Narada Muni the medicine is dust from the feet of his devotees. In whole Dwarka, nobody gave the dust. And Narada Muni went everywhere. And then he went to Vrindavan. Then readily, the gopis collected a bag of dust from their feet. And then Narada Muni asked them, don't you know what will happen to you The Supreme Lord, if you give the dust, Supreme Lord, he said, yeah, you may go to hell. But we are ready to suffer in hell for millions of lifetimes if that suffering gives a a fraction of second relief of headache to Krishna. So that is the nature of this devotional service that you can only understand by the rasa, the experience. For that experience, one has to fully surrender to Supreme Lord. It's not easy. We can understand, okay, this is like this, they are like this, the pure devotee is like this. We can even see a pure devotee maybe walking among us. They look like ordinary beings. It's not that when pure devotee is there, then they get angel wings and they are flying. They are like us. They are walking us. So it's very difficult. It is very achintya again. That to understand who is how much pure devotee among us. So they may be very ordinary, but their rasa, their relationship with Lord is what makes them that surrendered soul. It comes only by practice and by seeing the surrendered souls, by seeing our acharya, their lives, how they have conducted their lives. The Goswamis in Vrindavan, they were living under different trees. They were building opulent temples to Lord, the Madan Mohan temple, Radha Govinda temple, very big opulent temples. The worship was so opulent. So at that time, they were all the top of the temple. It has all gold. It's all now taken away, but it's gold. It is very opulent temples. And what they were living, they were living under a tree, and then in the villages of Vrindavan, they were begging, and then they would get wheat flour, and they would just add water to it, and then they would eat that. They would not even have salt to add it. That's how Madan Mohan once asked Sanatana Goswami, you are giving me these balls of wheat flour and Yamuna water. Can you please add some salt? And why Krishna is asking to add some salt? It is for the Goswami. Krishna is asking not for himself. And then Goswami replied, if you want, you are asking me salt today and tomorrow you'll ask me 56 items, you get yourself. And Krishna arranged to got a beautiful temple, at least in the temple, Goswami will get Mahaprasad, but he didn't stay there. Goswami, he went ahead. Okay, now you are in the temple, Madan Mohan. I am entrusting this to these Brahmanas. They will worship you. I am going. He again went back to living in the forest under the tree with the same, eating that same wheat flour with Yamuna water. Again, Krishna is looking at Sanatana Goswami and he's going to Parikrama. He's doing the Govardhan Parikrama every day. He went to Chakleshwar Mahadev and he was living there after building Madan Mohan temple in Vrindavan. Near Mansi Ganga. I hope many of you have been there. I just recently went to this Parikrama. So he is living there. And then every day he is going around, it's 21 kilometers, like almost 15 miles or something. He's doing Parikrama and chanting the Lord's name and all. So at that time, it's not that there are not nice roads are there or anything. Now it's there, nice roads. There were thorns and all. It's all remote jungle. It is at that time, 500 years back. And he's doing Parikrama every day, the whole Govardhan hill. And then Krishna is thinking, I want to give him some comfort, but he's not accepting. And then Krishna comes and tells Sanatana Goswami, take this Shila. You just do Parikrama of this Shila 4 times. It is as good as doing the whole hill, Govardhan hill Parikrama. 4 times. Only for him, not for us. Some devotees think that Shila is still there in Radha Damodar temple. And devotees say the thing that, okay, we'll go and do 4 times. It's as good as this. So when I went to this parikrama this time in Chakaleshwar Mahadev into darshan, so even there also, when Sanatan Goswami was staying there, Lord Shiva is having association of Sanatan Goswami, and but the mosquitoes were bothering Sanatan Goswami. Lot of mosquitoes there. So Sanatan Goswami thought, no, I should leave this place. He's not attached to any place. So he thought I should go somewhere else. Then Lord Shiva didn't like it. So Chakaleshwar Mahadev, he's right there, near Mansi Ganga, where Sanatan Goswami has his bhajan kutir. And Lord Shiva summoned the king of the Lord of Mosquitoes and said, don't bother Sanatan Goswami. So from that day, in the dream, Lord Shiva came and said, just give me one night. If tomorrow mosquitoes bother you, you can go. Then next day onwards, it didn't bother him. So again, devotees think, if you go in that place, mosquitoes won't bother. No, it's only the blessing for Sanatan Goswami, not for us. So that is the nature of this rasa, where Lord is trying to serve the devotees. The devotees are serving, they're competing. That is Achinta Veda. Let's only understand that they are one and different. They're different as servitor and the master. At the same time, they are one. When they switch the role, Lord becomes the servitor, and then the devotee becomes the master, accepting the service. Have more purport, it's more nicely explained on this philosophy of Chinta Veda. When you get a chance, you can read it. Further than 2 paragraphs are there. We don't have time now. 10 minutes, we have some room for time for discussion or questions.
Hey, Hare Krishna, can you hear us okay? Yes? No? Okay. It's all right.
Yes.
It's audible. So we were imagining this morning that the Yogendras walked into this temple room. 9 effulgent, beautiful naked men. You can imagine.
We get Kali Yuga Yogendras here.
You get some Yogendras here? Yeah.
Denita Prabhu just dealt with one Yogendra sitting at
That's
the
what
New York
that's our
Yogendras who are completely renounced. The New York, they're completely renounced, and they walk in whenever they want, anywhere, and then they are taking weed and done different things.
This is different than naked people that might walk into the temple in New York or not. Like the Yogendras, the character is different. And then there's this inquiry, and then there's this instruction. And then there's the idea that a person giving themselves totally to Krishna reciprocates in love, gives himself. Amazing. Krishna would give himself, the Supreme Lord would give himself. And this quality of giving oneself, we see in our own plane of existence, the age of quarrel, when there's so many broken relationships where people are dissatisfied with their leadership, people with their parents, with their spouse, and then even the intimate and ideally loving relationship between man and wife is broken. Marriages are broken, and this quality of being able to give oneself in love is very rare, but it's our ideal. And that's what the Yogendras are talking about, how the Lord is giving us an example of reciprocation. Totally surrender, and I totally surrender to you. In our experience, some people don't, Barbara uses the term Vana Shankara, unwanted children. When the relationships are broken, the parents are neglectful of taking care of the children. And I worked in an orphanage when I was an undergraduate. And you see these in real life children and how without the loving care of an adult. What is that book, not Johnny Toy, with the uh, teenage boys that are abandoned on this island from a shipwreck?
Fly.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies. There's an idea of the noble savage, that civilization is messing up everybody. And if people were just left to themselves, they would naturally have their goodness. The young boys are left on this island and they degrade themselves gradually more and more. It's a very painful book to read. They made that read you made it, yeah, in high school. You know that book, Lord of the Flies? No. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. They're living there and they're fighting with each other. And then at one point, after they've gone completely mad and become very degraded, all of a sudden a military ship comes by and the children come running out of the forest, and all of a sudden there's this officer there, an adult from an orderly, civilized, religious society, and they're embarrassed by their completely crazy condition. So that's like us, Prabhupada came, and all of a sudden here is somebody with integrity, with wisdom, with good character, with faith in Krishna, and helping us to see that, and the development of our character by sadhana and by Guru's association, like the Yogendras coming in and instructing us, brings escape from this degraded society and, fallen condition. Because we're just like children without an adult in the room. And also we're being called upon to be active like Srila Prabhupada and setting an example and showing people that, yeah, you can live like this. You can give yourself totally in devotional service to everyone you meet. I have a lot to say, but maybe I was talking too much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. I don't know if that made any sense.
Any comments? I don't see any comments.
Hmm?
I don't see any comments here. Okay, if not, we'll read further.
How many people are attending?
Not sure. Twenty-two.
22.
So we'll read one more paragraph that way till the curtain opens. The Supreme Lord Krishna expands himself into innumerable living entities to enjoy rasas, the ecstatic relationships with them. The living entities are part and parcel of Lord Krishna, and they are meant to serve him with love. Although the Supreme Lord is eternally the predominator and the living entity is eternally the predominated, when the living entity surrenders unto the Lord with a sincere loving attitude, desiring to serve the Lord eternally without the slightest expectation of personal reward of such service, the Lord immediately is pleased. As expressed here by the word prasanna, I think we read this. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so unlimitedly merciful and magnanimous that in his gratitude to such surrendered and loving servitor, he immediately inclined to offer anything, even himself, to his surrendered devotees. We read this, we'll read the next paragraph. There are numerous practical, historical examples in this loving propensity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the love of Mother Yashoda, child Krishna in the form of Damodar, surrendered himself to his loving mother and allowed himself to be bound with the ropes as a childhood punishment. Similarly, feeling indebted to the Pandavas of their intense love for him, Krishna, in his form as Parthasarathi, happily agreed to drive the chariot of Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Similarly, Krishna in Vrindavan is always thinking of ways to satisfy the gopis, who are universally recognized as the most exalted loving devotees of the Lord. So we discuss some of these examples quoted here. The next paragraph is such intense loving feelings extend between the Lord and his pure devotees where would not be possible were the living entities not qualitatively one with the supreme personality of Godhead, and indeed inseparable parts and parcels of the Lord. On the other hand, because both the supreme personality of Godhead and the living entities are eternally individuals, even with his own eternal individual consciousness, such living loving exchanges are a perpetual reality in the kingdom of God.
Perpetual reality.
In other words, absolute oneness with God and absolute difference from God are theoretical imaginations of different schools of speculative philosophy. The perfection of spiritual love, as described in this verse, is based on simultaneous one and difference. And this absolute reality was elaborately presented by Lord Himself in His Brahminical incarnation as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have expounded this perfect doctrine in innumerable books, culminating in the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Who has most perfectly presented this knowledge in a way that is understandable not only in India but to all the people of the world. Our present insignificant attempt is simply to complete his translation and commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are constantly praying for his guidance so that this work can simply be completed exactly as he would have desired. If one can understand these teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as they are being presented in Western languages, surely the Lord will be satisfied with such a sincere seeker of spiritual truth. Jai. The glory is all goes to the disciples of Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sundarnath ki jai.
Thank you, Sundarnath Prabhu. Great class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Darshan time.
Govindam Adipusham Venam Panam Samara Vindadalaya Saksham Bhagavatam Samasitam Sura Sundara Angaka Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobha Aripusha Namaham Bhajami Govindam Haripurusham Bhajami Ananiyasya Sakalam Priya Pritipanti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Vedam Yadanti Anandachimaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Pali Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Pali Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pali Purusham Bhajami Govindam Pali Purusham Hari Purusha. Lotus feet. Our spiritual master. The only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my conscience purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, and by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. Oh, Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Jai.
Jai Jai Nitai Prabhu. Jai Temple of Asis. Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Martine is driving safely for Krishna, yes. Thank you, Martine. Anandi's fan is spinning, and that's the fan of karma. It's unplugged, but it's still going. Anandi. Nice to see you, Anandi. Would anyone like to speak in line with Guru Sadhan Shastra? Maybe share a reflection or ask a question? Go ahead, please.
I really enjoyed the darshan today. Shishi Radha Muralidhar. I love when Muralidhar's garland is swinging towards Radharani. Today his peacock feather is tucked behind his right side of his turban, and it's not sticking up in the air, but it's a little going to the side or down, and he's got his cow herding stick, which is very pleasing to see. I did notice that Lord Chaitanya, usually he has so many jewels on, and I think, wow, so majestic. But today he had a few less jewels, and you could see more his shape of his chest and his majesty. And Radharani, she has got a really big bouquet. I guess the gopis really wanted to offer a lot of flowers to Muralidhar. So beautiful, this darshan today. So grateful.
So beautiful is your vision. I was looking at the same square on my phone, but what did I see? And what did Krishna Kumari see? All glories to Krishna Kumari and Janardhan Prabhu's. Is Janardhan Prabhu facilitating your vision, Krishna Kumari?
Honestly, yesterday I didn't know it was Ekadashi in the morning. And when we got home, my daughter said to my husband, don't tell her, don't tell her. And then she was joking, and she said, Dad, I guess you're following Ekadashi for all of us. Yeah, he's a great, dutiful devotee, so dedicated.
Yeah. Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Next contributor, please. I mean, the yaga is already sufficient, but just in case you'd like to speak, go ahead. I see Dana Krishna's Radharani is unmuted. Oh no, no, it's not that. It's not that. Okay. Anyone, please? Men.
Morning, Hare Krishna. The other day when Jagannath Priya Prabhu was speaking, he said something very beautiful and helpful. And one of the things he was speaking about the aesthetics and how rasa is the aesthetic of the soul. And he started speaking a little bit about that. And I feel like today I kind of understood maybe better what that is, because he was referring to this aesthetic of the soul. Well, this aesthetic of the internal world, the interior world of our soul. And today I sort of heard that really is this unmotivated, unselfish, loving relationship between us and God. And that just kind of stayed in my mind as such a beautiful thing, that to always wish for that and seek for that, the purity of love. So I really like that.
Thank you, Min. Yeah, I had the same question that I ask all the time. What to do when we're mixed? We want to serve Krishna, we love Prabhupada, but we also have all kinds of other desires that are growing in the dark, like mushrooms. You know, do we get discouraged, or how do we handle that? When we read every morning about this pure, unmotivated love, aesthetic of the soul, but then when we kind of move on with our day, then all these other desires are boiling, you know. And then sometimes we feel this is a tall order and I'm a mess. Is that a healthy take on it, Narottam Nitai Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I will say that, yeah, it's not it's good to confide in like a devotee one-on-one that you love, like you can talk to and trust about those things, because yeah, like it's the more we I've heard like this from the neurological perspective, that the more we talk about something that is not good for us, or that's upsetting to us, the more it will bother us, or the more it will manifest. I don't know how that really works, because so like the more we chant Hare Krishna, the better off things will be for everyone. But um, but yeah, I would say confiding in a devotee is important, and then another thing is writing things down. It gets them out of our head, and so it's out of our consciousness, so to speak. But anyways, I would say, yeah, I wanted to mention uh the two bhajans, Nitya Pada Kamala, Nityananda Mahajan, because Lord Nityananda's mercy is very great, and it can really help us. I heard that the astrologically, there's some planets like Mars, Gemini, and Sagittarius that are like very like, it's gonna make things difficult for the average person. But the devotees, we can soar high during these times, taking shelter of Krishna. Sure, Prabhupada. That's it.
Thank you, Narottam Nitai Prabhu. Yeah, that is very helpful. We take shelter of the devotees with whom we can share confidentially. And Karen, I think Karen nailed it for me at least. Hare Krishna, thank you for class. I'm a mess, but I always feel uplifted by the devotees. I think that really summarizes that for me. Right? Ram, are you a mess? Okay. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Narottam Nitai Prabhu. Adipusha Prabhu is smiling.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful question, wonderful answer. And Vaishya Shekhar Babu just tells us sometimes, just keep going. Just keep going. The process works. Certainly when you start to clean the room, a lot of dust comes up. Just keep cleaning, and gradually, eventually, Krishna will help us to go completely to the highest platform.
Yeah, sometimes we tend to overthink. I tend to overthink and just get lost and drown in my own mind and my own estimation of what's going on. But it's really Krishna knows what he's doing, right? Adipusha Prabhu. On the other side is Krishna, and he's capable of reaching out to us, sending a guru, a situation, a book.
The part we're reading in the Bhagavatam, these Yogendras show up. I don't know if you heard before. Imagine like if 9 beautiful, effulgent, naked men walked into the Bhakti Center, and we could sense that they were, saintly and loving and wisdom, and we inquire from them. And by hearing from somebody who's awake, we become awakened. When a lighted candle touches an unlighted candle, that unlighted candle starts to give off heat and light. So we are uplifted by this hearing process, and by the process of purification is to be absorbed. Rameshwar was absorbed, become absorbed in book distribution. When you're throwing your whole heart into something. In this world, people hesitate to throw their whole heart into even a relationship like a marriage. They're thinking, well, maybe it won't work, and maybe I can't do it, and maybe this other person will reject me, and but this is natural, to be really absorbed and dedicated, and when we give ourselves totally to Krishna, everything else is accomplished, and Krishna reciprocates. How wonderful is Krishna? We did this thing the other day with everybody say Krishna's the most. So somebody said, Krishna's the most beautiful, Krishna's the most wise, Krishna's the most strong, Krishna's the most forgiving, Krishna's the most faithful, Krishna's the most merciful, Krishna's the most patient, Krishna's the most, everything. What can you say? And when each person adds something, you think, yeah, that's right, and he's like that, and he's like that, and he's like that. And we just become absorbed in thinking of how wonderful is Krishna, and we're not absorbed in how fallen I am is a fact. What we're sharing is just reality, that there's a struggle and we're at a certain level. But on the other hand, like you said, Krishna's there, and he sees it, and he is helping us. And this Bible says something about you'll never be tempted so much that there won't be a way to overcome that temptation. Because it's not just coming from my uncontrolled mind and chaos. Krishna's giving us these learning experiences. Krishna's the best teacher. All glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Dear devotees, please don't give up on yourself like I do sometimes. Keep going. Man has her hand up.
Yes, can I ask a question?
Yes, Adipusha Prabhu is here.
Yesterday, when we were hearing Prabhupada, where we kind of ended at a place where he was talking about the variety that exists in the spiritual world, that the spiritual world is filled with variety, but without inebriety.
Yes, without inebriety.
Yeah, can you explain what that actually means?
Well, imagine somebody who's envious. They see someone who's more intelligent or more effective in their service, and you could be envious, thinking, boy, he's got that, and I don't. Or you could admire that person and say, wow, I'd like to be like that. So there is everything there. There's laughter, there's relationships, there's even fighting, but it's without inebriety, without the toxic selfishness that taints our activities in this world. Everything is there without inebriety. Right? Does that clarify a little bit?
Yeah,
Between
it's just
sympathy and admiration.
mm,
There is a comparing of seeing someone higher and myself not on that platform, but I'm grateful to see that person, and I wish that person well for having those good qualities, and I do wish I could become like that. And by their example, I'm moved in that direction, right? So that's like envy in one sense, but it's admiration. Sweet, right?
yeah, it's nice. I just thought it was really interesting to hear the qualities, the place that's filled with variety in its pureness, but there and without inebriety. I think it's kind of a interesting combination to really like envision the spiritual world, and yeah, that's really nice.
Parastasmat abovnjovik jovik tatsinatena. That beyond this dimension that we see, there's another dimension, there's another world, there's another place and atmosphere that's qualitatively different from here. It's another one, and it's eternal. It's not temporary. It's blissful. It's not full of frustration and sadness and arguments that are selfishly motivated. Even fighting, Krishna fights, and he's happy. There was a devotee, Jambavan, fighting with Krishna in this Shamataka jewel story. And by fighting with Krishna, he was pleasing Krishna, because Krishna likes to fight. And then, well, because his fighting was pleasing Krishna, he became purified, and he recognized, hey, wait a minute, this is Krishna. And he stopped fighting with Krishna. So the fighting was pleasing to the Lord. Imagine that. Krishna, like, I don't know if you've ever had a wrestling match with, men do this a lot. Even you see animals like young bulls, or young tigers. They grapple with each other and playfully exhibit fighting skills, but they're enjoying that.
Yeah, I used to play kung fu, and
Oh,
was that like that?
you,
We look like we're fighting, but we say we're playing.
yeah, you have definitely a warrior nature. I see that.
Variegatedness without toxicity is the best. Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Thank you, Min. Okay.
We were out at Prashad distribution, and Das was doing something, and Steady was there. And she was going, Das, don't do it like that. Do it like this, And they were fighting, and then I said, all right, Steady, I'm going to arm wrestle with you. And I went, and I let her win. And she was laughing. I said, okay, we'll do it your way, So it was like a fight, but it was not, there was no bitterness there. It was playful and, pleasing to Krishna. All glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Yogeshwari Devidasi, please unmute yourself and recite the Maha Mantra for the pleasure of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yogeshwari sounds like she's in ecstasy. Did you hear that?
Krishna.
Thank you, Yogeshwari Devi. All right, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. The 9 Yogendras, beautiful naked men, fully realized, walking into the Bhakti Center, greeted by Janitai Prabhu ki jai. Okay.